Hey everyone, welcome to the show. Thank you for being here on a Mexican Crossing Lines with your hosts, Cindy Gomez-Schempp
and Duke Gomez-Schempp.
You're listening to 88.1 FM, KPPPLP, Fargo Moorhead, where we are adding local color to your airwaves. And tonight my show is frozen. Like the 26 bank accounts that were just frozen in Mexico related to human trafficking activity. And this comes just one day after two smugglers, accused smugglers by the Mexican government, are arrested, Irieno Mujica and Cristobal Sanchez. And the hits just keep on coming. Tonight we will talk about the press releases from both the Attorney General in Mexico on these arrests and from Pueblos sin Fronteras with regard to the arrests, as well as the cartel weighs in on human trafficking. You'll be surprised what the cartel from the Gulf has to say on the issue. We'll also look at what kind of threats are posed to the United States by the cartel, and we will be talking about how there are allegations of involvement with Irieno Mujica, not only working with the cartels, but working with the Morena party. That's AMLO's party in Mexico, working with the Morena party. Also, him having money stashed away in different locations, living in different locations. I'll tell you all about that. And those are locations here in the U.S. He's a dual citizen. So it is known that he has been in Phoenix and also in Sonoita, Mexico, and Cordova. But there are other things about Mr. Irieno Mujica that have been alleged in the past that I will be sharing with you tonight. He is a man of many identities. We are going to also talk about the LA Times article. It sheds some light into the arrests that are going on and how they connect to the migrant caravans. We will also be talking about some documents that were given to me just yesterday. More Al Otro Lado contracts that show you that Al Otro Lado is practicing law without a license in Mexico still because we've shown you before that they were. But now it appears their clients are flying in planes. And I will show you the plane tickets that prove that they're flying in planes all the way to Tijuana, where, of course, we know they're operating. The lawyers from Al Otro Lado are operating. And I will show you who they signed these contracts. And I have some parting words tonight about where I think this investigation will shift next and who it will be targeting. So stay tuned for all of that on Mexican Crossing Lines. But first, I want to thank all of you for your support, for the info that you sent. I will be using a lot of these different things that were sent to me from all sorts of sources tonight. And I want to thank you for your donations and your support. I don't know if you can tell how good our backgrounds look today, but we used some of the recent money that we got for donations for new studio lights, and they are jamming.
Oh, yeah.
Duke, tell people how they can support our work and how they can send us information or tweet at us or follow us on YouTube.
Oh, most definitely. And if you do me a favor, read my note right here and take care of that. That'd be wonderful, okay? Yep. Well, thank you all, people. As Cindy said, we've received a few donations, and we thank you. Again, the people haven't put their names down that want to be mentioned, but you know who you are. And it's those sorts of donations and support that really lead us to actually improve and give you better quality and actually continue this work. As you remember, we're a nonprofit organization. We started this radio station 3 years ago. We started this nonprofit almost 8 years ago. And as you run a nonprofit, there's a lot more accountability compared to if you're just trying to do a business. We're a nonprofit. We're not a for-profit business. So we rely on support of people in the community. We've gotten some foundations to grant us money, and we use it wisely, and we do reports. We do state reports. We do national reports, federal reports, and we do a lot of stuff to make sure that we're accountable to you, the people in the community. So there's all sorts of ways that, as Cindy said, that you can get hold of us, and we do appreciate all the information you've been sending us. We're using a lot of it. We're reading a lot of it. A lot of times it piles up. We don't get to it all, but we bank it. So we're totally receiving it. You can always give us a call on our message line at 701-566-0917. Again, that's 701-566-0917. You can tweet us at media_PPP. You can email Cindy at kpppfm.com or me, Duke, at kpppfm.com. You can follow us on Facebook at 88.1 FM Fargo Moorhead, the People's Press Project, and Mexi-Can. You can follow Cindy's public page by searching for @CindyGoSchempp. Now, our website, again, I apologize, my second day in a row, I haven't put the shows up. The past couple shows have not been put on the website. No. But it's like it takes time, and I do post-production after these shows. One of the things I do is I upload our videos, because we record them here in the studio as we put them out on Facebook Live, and we record them in high definition, and we put them on our YouTube channel, which is at Duke1517. If you go to YouTube, type in Duke1517, my name will come up, Duke Gomez-Schempp. That's our channel that we've been putting all of our YouTube videos on, and I've been asking people to subscribe to our channel, because once we have 1,000 subscribers, we can add some new tools that will be available to us through the Creator Studio, and we'll be able to do some fun stuff on YouTube. We're still going to plan to do live streams here on Facebook, but we're also going to do live streams on YouTube and do some other fun stuff. So if you'd go to YouTube and go to Duke1517 or Duke Gomez-Schempp, please subscribe. And if you want to check us out a little bit more about our organization and our history, go to kpppfm.com. There you'll find our audio podcasts. Many of them actually go on the air. They get edited and added in station breaks and different things that make it comply with FCC guidelines. Like last night's show, there was a lot of swearing in. We take all those words out because we can't actually broadcast that on the air, on the radio waves. So we make things compliant, and we put those on our site so you can actually listen to the audio podcast, and you can also look at the YouTube video, and also look at some of the links we put in there, because some of the show's content is based on things that are publicly available, and we post those links in there so you can go see it yourself. When you're at our site, look at our history, and look at our donation page. We're a nonprofit 501c3 recognized by the federal government, and if you make a donation through our website, we have a link there that you can do that, or you can send us a check or whatever. You're going to get a receipt. We're going to record it, and we're going to make sure that we're accountable to you. Go to kpppfm.com/donate and make a donation and help us continue this excellent work we're doing, and help us continue to be able to take the time to go through the information and do these quality shows that you'll get nowhere else. You won't get this information anywhere else. And a lot of our stuff is so current, the news agencies aren't even picking up on it. Some of the stuff you're going to hear tonight is just fresh off of what's happening today, and a lot of news organizations are playing catch up. They all went home now. The night is over. And here we are. We work till 10, 11, 12, 1 o'clock in the morning every day. Mm-hmm. We get up early and we work all day, and then we broadcast, and then we do post-production work after that. So we do sleep late at night. Sometimes we sleep in, but please continue working with us. Please continue supporting us, and thank you for watching tonight.
Yes, it's going to be a show you will not want to miss. Tell your friends about it and share it everywhere. Okay, let's just dive right in. We're going to start off by sharing a comment that I got recently that I love sharing comments from time to time. So I'm going to start with the comment tonight. I'm only going to share one of the comments I got recently. It was really sweet. It comes from a woman named Erin, and I'm not going to give her full name so that she can remain anonymous, since the people that she talks about in this comment are people that are all currently part of the Border Support Network as well. She says, "Hello, Cindy. I've waited for years to hear someone break down and speak about who the people are with the caravans and the tribe's interlopers. I was beginning to believe I was the lone weirdo that saw these issues. Thanks to both of you for the voice, and I'm working to get more people to the YouTube channel for subscription. Peace." Thanks, Erin. We really appreciate your comment and your help getting people to our YouTube channel. Now, diving into these alerts. Let's go to the first alert Pueblos Sin Fronteras put out about the arrest on Irieno Mujica. It's called Alerta Pueblos Sin Fronteras Cristobal. This is Cristobal Sanchez, the guy that got arrested yesterday. And Pueblos Sin Fronteras put out their post saying, alert, breaking news. They have detained today at 3 p.m. a defender of human rights. I'm so sick of hearing them call them that, but okay, we'll use that if that's what you want. Cristobal Sanchez. I think the Mexican government will differ in what they had to say, their attorney general has to say about the reasons for the arrest, but let's just read it the way they wrote it. It says, he's a Mexican human rights activist, human rights defender, arrested by 6 police dressed in civilian clothes, who drew down on him right outside his house in Xochimilco. For those of you who don't know, that's in Mexico City. Warrants were carried out in 2 different places, one in Mexico City, the other in Sonoita, Mexico, which is on the border with Arizona. And it says, and they took him in a car with no license plates, no identification. So in an unmarked car, civilian dressed police drew down on these on Cristobal and took him to jail. Tonight, Cristobal communicated with his family, and according to what the police told him, he will be accused of serious crimes, folks. And then it says they're taking him to the Ministerio Público, the public ministry in Camarones. Camarones is another section of Mexico. Esta detención es arbitraria e ilegal. They claim, Pueblos Sin Fronteras said, this arrest is arbitrary and it is illegal, and it represents backlash or repression against important defenders of human rights for their work with migrants and for their great effort to generate more justice and less violence in Mexico. Oh my God. When they cause violence against one, they cause violence against all of us. We denounce this arrest and we demand. Wow, they have some cojones. They demand the immediate liberation of and unconditional liberation of their partner. Now this next alert talks about Irieno Mujica and his arrest. And it says that just minutes ago, on June 5th, they detained Irieno Mujica, the director of Pueblos Sin Fronteras and human rights defender. An hour after that, Cristobal Sanchez was also arrested. Irieno was arrested today around 2:30 p.m. Sonora local time. Okay? What did the Attorney General have to say about it? It's quite different. Take a look for yourselves. This is what the Attorney General had to say about it. He said, and this is from the communication of the Attorney General for the country of Mexico. I apologize for it being in Spanish, but I will translate it for you. It said, elements of the Attorney General's office delivered 2 warrants for 2 individuals that are accused of committing possible crimes against under the topic of migration. In the months of April and May, people from Honduras came to the Ministerio Público, the federal ministry, and made criminal complaints against these people of Mexican nationality, whom they gave various amounts of money in exchange for the promise to bring them into Mexico illegally, with the objective of taking them into the United States illegally. With the evidence obtained with the evidence, con las pruebas obtenidas, with the evidence obtained, the representatives, the federal representatives, that the federal representatives obtained from the district judge that specializes in criminal complaints in the state of Chiapas, they ordered the apprehension for these two people possibly responsible for the crimes. With those in place, they were able to arrest the two. They located and arrested the two. The warrants were carried out against an Irieno M. I know his last name. It's Mujica.
Yes.
For the probable commission of crimes of transport, migrant smuggling. Okay? With the aggravated offense of this being done to children, adolescents, and also against Cristobal S. for the probable commission of crimes of illegally introducing people into Mexico without any documentation. Okay? People without documentation. So, next, so now we know more detail. That's what's really going on. Do not forget that the trial of Scott Warren, the so-called another person that's calling himself a human rights defender, that says that he was just putting water in the desert, that trial is happening now. And the unindicted co-conspirator in that case is none other than Irieno Mujica, now arrested for human smuggling and trafficking. Now, let me tell you the difference here. The difference between trafficking and smuggling is that trafficking involves coercion. So the person cannot consent. The person did not consent, and they were pushed into, forced into, threatened into, beaten into slavery or some form of forced labor or sex. Okay? And in the case of smuggling, usually the person that is the victim is an accomplice of the crime of smuggling, because they pay that person because they want that person to transport them somewhere and smuggle them somewhere. But if you're a child, you cannot consent. If you are a child, you cannot consent to the smuggling, you see. So that's where it crosses the line and becomes trafficking charges. That's what faces these two individuals. And that is also what is facing Scott Warren, for whom people are crying and writing these fluff pieces, trying to make it seem that they are the victims of a government shakedown of journalists, of lawyers, of what have you. I say, why don't we wait for the investigations to be over, folks? Because so far, everything I have been telling you has come true. Mm-hmm. Have you noticed that?
Yes, I have, yeah.
Have you noticed that? Because all of the people involved in the Border Support Network that I have been telling you are part of an international smuggling operation being investigated by multiple governments and multiple law enforcement agencies, over 20 law enforcement agencies to include Interpol. They will say, don't listen to Cindy. Don't listen to a Mexican crossing lines. Don't watch it, because they don't want to see the evidence and the proof that I am showing you of that being true. Now, I want to show you some allegations that are out there, because let me tell you, when this story came out about his arrest, there was so many people out there saying that, you know what? This guy, Irieno, is a human rights defender. He's defending human rights. And these are some of the responses that that people got for saying that. This one, as you can see in the translation below, says that Irieno is a criminal. You can see above, right above it, there is an article of Animal Politico that this person is responding to, that said that these people are human rights activists or human rights defenders. And this guy, Fernando Gonzalez, responded, Irieno Mujica is a criminal and a human trafficker. He is no defender of human rights. Don't fall for the trap. For years now, he has been a famously known human trafficker, and he's been targeted by both ICE and the FBI. So it is a well-known fact that this guy is a criminal, okay? And this is something that folks are talking about publicly and saying, look, this is what it is. Now, let me tell you that the next one here by Jose Luis Gamboa, sorry, I missed, is that the next one? Let's go to the next one.
Yes.
We missed mansion here. We missed the mansion. The one about the mansion says that this is the same guy that talked about the FBI looking into Mujica and that he's a known trafficker. And he says, Fernando Gonzalez once again says, Irieno Mujica was hired to organize the caravans of these criminals to enter Mexico. Curiously, he did it when the government change happened in Mexico. He's referring to the taking of power of the new president in Mexico, Andrés Manuel López Obrador, to destabilize the government. He's a millionaire. He's a human trafficking millionaire who lives in Santa Monica in a mansion. He is no defender of human rights. Okay? These are some of the things that are being talked about in response to people trying to clamor for support of what is a person that in many places, including in the Twitter sphere, are known for their activities. This next one comes from Jose Luis Gamboa, and Jose Luis Gamboa says, Los Zetas están apoyando a Irieno Mujica y están en Villa Isla Zona Cero de este cartel, bajo el control de Fidel Herrera y los hermanos Colorado. That means Los Zetas, the cartel of the Zetas, are supporting Irieno Mujica, and they are in Villa Isla Zero, in the Villa Islas area of that cartel. In the zone of Villa Isla Zero, in of this territory of the cartel. The cartel is under the control of Fidel Herrera and the brothers from Colorado. By the way, Luis Gamboa is a reporter, and he is a reporter that lives in Tijuana. Okay? So, what happened here? I feel like I have lost. Okay. So I'm going to get to that in a minute. I wanted to talk a little bit about another cartel that weighed in, and someone else talking about the connections to Irieno Mujica and the cartel and the cartels, plural. Interestingly, yesterday, the Gulf Cartel sent a message to none other than President Trump. This article that I'm going to share with you, I have a link so you guys can go check it out for yourself, actually shows you the handwritten note that was sent to, I'm assuming it was sent to the media or posted in a public place so that the president would hear about it. Is titled CDG Cartel Weighs In on the Immigration Issue with a manta to Trump. The manta is the message, okay? And it says, this giant manta, like, what is it called? A banner? It's a giant banner that was hung out
I see.
somewhere for everyone to read that was put out for the president. And it says a giant banner was hung out addressing President Trump from the Gulf Cartel operating in the region called the Small Border in the state of Tamaulipas, Mexico, which borders in the area of Brownsville, Texas, folks. Okay? Just so that you can identify where that is. And, excuse me, it says, President Trump, your law is against the illegal migrants, but your citizen governor Cabeza de Vaca, governor, Cowhead, basically, has a group of state police officers that are charging us for each Cuban, each Venezuelan, each Brazilian, each Chinese and Arab person from all over the world for passing through our plazas in Tamaulipas. So it's saying here, I'm going to look at the Spanish version of this. It says, what it's saying is, your citizen governor. So he's talking to the president. He's telling him, your governor. Wonder if he's talking about the California governor. Maybe he's talking about somebody else. He says that there is somebody, your citizen governor, Cabeza de Vaca, has a group of state police that are charging us, the cartel, for each Cuban, Venezuelan, Brazilian, Chinese, and Arab from all over the world for passing through our plazas, mainly in our Ribereña. Everyone has different prices depending on what country they originated from, as do our assassins have a fee to pay if they get caught.
Wow.
We, the cartels, are not your enemies. We pay to live. He is outing the fact that there are Americans being paid off. And they're saying, hey, we got money. We pay to live. And then it's signed Cartel from the Gulf. Okay?
Wow.
Specifically by Commander Cousin, Primito, little cousin. They all got gangster names. What do you think of that, Duke?
Oh, my God. It's amazing. And also, I didn't quite know what format it was. I heard you talking about it to people that you were going to present this tonight. And it's like I didn't realize it was done that way. So it was actually propagated through social media and emails.
It was hung up on
hung up on like an overpass. And it just giant banner. It wasn't a letter with a stamp on it. It was a message that was going out to the community. And the community was sending it off. I think it's kind of an amazing piece of communication. And then you have to wonder, well, why are they doing this now? Trump just yesterday was saying that Mexico's problem was the cartels. The cartels are their problem, and they've got to take care of that problem. I mean, and it's like, here's a cartel responding to President Trump directly. And I think that's pretty amazing, that would be happening, and it would be happening so quick. And also that it happened so fast and no one's talking about it because, again, our U.S. news has very few Spanish speakers and Spanish readers. And so much news is coming out of Mexico in Spanish that they're ignoring stuff. They're not seeing the significance of things that are happening in Mexico and how Mexico is reacting and the things that people are saying in Mexico and the reporters in Mexico. And we work with a few. And, when someone's bilingual, then they can do English and Spanish. But I think our local and our national media in this country is very lazy when it comes to hiring people who are Mexican to cover Mexican issues. They get some token person in there every once in a while, but it's not sustained. And if they would have that in their newsrooms, they'd be able to be reporting these same things. And,
there's been a lot of speculation. Reporters that have contacted me that wanted to hear what exactly the connection was to the cartels. I said on Chris Berg's show on KXJB just yesterday that there is no way, and I've been saying it for a while, there's no way that the cartels are not involved. Otherwise, these people would all be dead.
Yeah.
And they're telling you, I am showing you proof that yes, they are involved and they want the president to know. But what I want the president to know is that his own DEA has put out in this article from Judicial Watch, which I will share the link to with you, my audience, so you can check it out. Just came out yesterday. This is what the DEA has said. Let me read it. Mexican drug cartels have headquarters throughout the United States and are one of the country's greatest criminal, national security, and public health threats. According to a veteran Drug Enforcement Administration senior agent pushing the federal government to designate them, cartels, as foreign terrorist organizations, quote, the Mexican cartels have left a trail of blood using intimidation and terrorist tactics of ruthless violence, said Derek S. Maltz, a narco-terror expert who helped establish the Counter-Narco-Terrorism Operation Center before retiring from the DEA. The Counter-Narco-Terrorism Operations Center, CENTOC for short, has busted many big-time narco-terrorism operations, including a money laundering scheme that supported the Lebanese terrorist group Hezbollah. Quote, the cartels engage in beheadings, car bombings, dissolving humans in acid, mass murders, torture, bombings, and political assassinations, Maltz said. Their actions are consistent with the behaviors of traditional terrorists, and they have infiltrated the highest levels of the Mexican government with bribes and corruption. The former DEA agent added that, quote, Mexican drug cartels have utilized techniques which focus on mind manipulation and behavioral modification, utilized by organizations such as Al-Qaeda. The troubling details were delivered during a recent testimony before the Ohio legislature, where Maltz made a powerful case for designating Mexican drug cartels as foreign terror organizations, following a massive bust of the notorious Sinaloa cartel in the Buckeye State. A resolution was introduced to get the federal government to make the change so that the state, may use, quote, appropriate means to mitigate and eventually eliminate the operation of the cartels. Last week, a criminal justice committee heard testimony as the resolution advanced in the Ohio legislature, and Maltz was a key expert witness, telling the panel that cartels have major hubs in Southern California, Arizona, Chicago, Texas, New York, and Atlanta, and that they have expanded into southern Florida. Folks, this is very important. This resolution states that transitional criminal organizations based in Mexico, drug cartels, are responsible for the flow of opioids, the epidemic that is killing so many millions of Americans in the United States and Ohio, and that have also been responsible for the proliferation of human trafficking in the U.S., particularly in Ohio. As part and parcel of their drug trafficking operations, the measure points out that drug cartels conduct operations on U.S. soil in the furtherance of drug and human trafficking, and that abuse of opioids and human trafficking are a direct threat to our economy, our well-being, and our overall vitality of the state of Ohio and its citizens. Quote, the acting administrator of the United States Drug Enforcement Administration, Utam Dillon, recently declared Mexican drug trafficking organizations as the biggest criminal threat facing the United States today. Folks, I'm not going to read the rest of it. You guys can go and check it out. But I think that says it all. It is the biggest health threat. It is the biggest threat to America's sovereignty and safety, period. Period. So what are we going to do about it? Well, let me tell you another thing that was revealed recently in the news just days ago. Here's an article by the Conservative Review. You can go and look at it on conservativereview.com, and I will share the link so you can check it out. But it shows that the Mexican government admits that 80% of its populated territory is run by cartels. And that includes and I think it especially needs to be noted, that includes key border areas. Folks, what have I been telling you, okay, about all of this? I think that is very important in combating terrorism to recognize, because that's what it is, that's what it needs to be classified as, just as we are going to stop this mass migration after the classification of Mexico as a third country place of security for the migrants to apply for asylum. We can begin stemming the terrorist activity of the drug cartels if they are designated as a terrorist organizations, foreign terrorist organizations. Okay? As of last year, according to this article, the Taliban controlled or contested 46% of the districts in Afghanistan's civil war. Mexico has 80% of its territories controlled by the cartels. Think about that. The Taliban. We talk about that terrorist organization and we are terrified of the reach, the scope, the power that they have. Just think about the difference. They only control 46% of the territories in Afghanistan, of districts in Afghanistan. Mexico has 80% of its territories controlled. Okay?
Wow.
What do you think is going to happen in a country that is over half, over 75% controlled by terrorist organizations? Duke,
yeah,
thoughts?
I don't know what's going to happen because of all that, but I think what's really important that is being revealed and talked about and shown, because it's pretty much been under the radar for people even talking about it, and it just conjures up imagery, conjures up violence, deaths. But with this migrant caravan, it's like it makes more sense of their involvement, and it's like, this is a really, really big deal that's being talked about right now and revealed. And
we know Pueblos sin Fronteras is being investigated. I've been telling you this for months and months now. But let me just read to you, because I think that this makes it very crystal clear that they're just part of the larger scope of this criminal operation that does involve the cartels. It says here in the Conservative Review that what if you were told that 80% of Mexico's territories are controlled by dangerous cartels, including all of the key smuggling routes at our border, and that the cartels are orchestrating all of the illegal immigration in our U.S. territory and bringing in the members of the cartel back and forth across our own border. Okay? Several weeks ago, the Mexican investigative journal Contralínea posted a map of Mexico prepared by the government of Presidente Andrés Manuel López Obrador, showing that 80% of the country's 266 districts recently targeted for enforcement. There it is. There's the map right there. Targeted for enforcement by the Mexican National Guard in a new counter-cartel operation are either controlled, 57.5%, or disputed areas, 23.3%, by cartels. Only 53%, that's 19.92%, only 53 districts, that's only 19%, enjoy a low level of violence, which means that control is exercised by the authorities. That's shocking. Mm-hmm. It is something that you really need to get more familiar with. I will share the article with you guys so you can go down the rabbit hole and learn exactly what this investigation, this report from the Mexican authorities revealed, from Mexico's president revealed about their own problems with the cartel. But that's not the only accusations that are being made in connection to Irieno Mujica's involvement with smuggling, trafficking, and these cartels. There are also allegations that Political parties in Mexico are also involved. Here is the same reporter that made the allegations about the cartels, and it states, Jose Luis Gamboa states, the Morena party is behind the caravans. We already have identified federal deputies of the Morena party that are linked to leaders like Irieno Mujica of the caravan. And then the very next words he says are, Irieno Mujica can be raised up on a banner by the cartels in Veracruz.
Wow.
Puede ser levantado por un cartel. He could be picked up by the cartel in Veracruz.
Wow.
Then, of course, there are, his credentials. Jose Luis Gamboa is the reporter for El Regional, which is a publication in Tijuana. El Regional Independiente, it says, del Norte, of the North. And it says, news for the service of truth and justice. The Mexican reporter, radio commentator like yours truly, talks about politics and lots of other stuff. Here is his Twitter account. But there are other reporters that are talking about Irieno and his lack of, his absence, his noticeable absence at the Scott Warren trial, mainly Stephanie Casanova and Tim Sellers of the Arizona Daily Star. They wrote in an article that was printed today that Mexico is accusing Irieno Mujica of laundering money for migrants, basically of moving migrants for money, for pay, which is human trafficking. Why can't you just say that? Mm-hmm. Mexico is accusing Irieno Mujica of human trafficking and human smuggling. Didn't you read the same press release we all read from the Attorney General in Mexico? They like to be a little bit, and it says in this article that they just arrested Mujica, and that Mujica was living in Phoenix as well as in Tijuana. This is important for you to know because there's lots of places where he is said to have been, but that he has been a key but absent figure in the No More Deaths volunteer trial of Scott Warren. And note that they all call themselves volunteers because if they were all making money, as Irieno Mujica has been accused of, then they would be human traffickers and human smugglers, and they certainly don't want to travel down that road, so they lie and they lie and they tell you, oh, no, I'm just a volunteer. I'm a poor volunteer. I'm a homeless volunteer. I don't have shoes. Look at me wearing my flannel shirts again and again and again in my 20-year-old car, because they want you to believe that they are not at all in any way, shape, or form taking money for moving people across borders, because that would be a crime. Right?
Right.
These people are already being charged. These people are already going to face the music. First Warren, and now his accomplice, Irieno Mujica. Or maybe it's the other way around. Okay? Warren is facing 1 count of conspiring to harbor the 2 men and 2 counts of harboring them at an aid station in Ajo in January of 2018. He said in testimony Wednesday and Thursday that the 2 Central Americans showed up unexpectedly, and he simply provided them with food, water, and medical aid. The same reporter for the Tucson Daily, or the Arizona Daily Star, also heard the opening statements of the attorney for the state, saying that they confiscated phones from Warren that had conversations between one of the unexpectedly arrived migrants and him for weeks prior to his unexpected arrival. How unexpected could it have been if they were communicating for weeks, and if he was communicating with the smuggler, the human trafficker that brought these 2 people to Scott Warren, Irieno Mujica? Huh? Explain that to me, and explain how this reporter can be writing this and not mention the fact that that is very ingenuous, that it is not congruent. It doesn't make sense. Anyway, it says that these arrests took place, the arrest of Irieno Mujica took place in Chiapas, near the Guatemalan border. It's a very short article. And also, I wanted to share with you the bomb that went off today in the Universal about the frozen accounts, folks. The frozen accounts for trafficking of migrants, for smuggling of migrants. Check it out in El Universal. The title says that the equivalent of the IRS has frozen 26 accounts for human smuggling because they believe that the money is fruit of the poison tree. They got this by smuggling humans. For the first time, the special intelligence unit of the equivalent of the IRS in Mexico, which is called Hacienda, have, along with the secretary of the IRS in the Division of Public Credit, have frozen 26 accounts for people that are accused of taking in money for human smuggling. That is the cartera. I want the El Universal. El Universal. That's the one. Wait, I don't think so. That doesn't look like the same article. El Universal. I think you have the wrong one here. I will share that link with my audience so you guys can check it out. And I'm sorry that I didn't have this graphic for you today because it was a massive bombshell in the media that shows that these folks are being accused of taking in money for the purpose of trafficking. Okay? El Universal to the left. Nope. Right there. Click on it. Let me see it. That is not El Universal. So... Oh, wait, yes, it is. Yes, it is. I'm sorry. Go back to it and put it back up. Your version on the screen capture so you have to scroll down quite a bit because you are not on the right part of this graphic. So if you could scroll up on that a lot, you can see the title there, okay? And it says that the IRS has blocked the accounts of 26 people for human smuggling. The word for smuggling in Spanish is tráfico. The word for trafficking in Spanish is trata. So that is why this is about the smuggling operation. Okay? It says, the action taken by this department of the IRS came about in the middle of negotiations with Mexico's government and the administration of Donald Trump in the United States. This was coordinated with the Department of Exterior Relations that followed the route of the caravans, of the migrant caravans in Mexico, and that have been doing this investigating since October of 2018, folks. It says right there. They also followed the flow of the economic resources. If you could scroll up further on that so people could see where I'm following along here. And it says, thanks to the information that was transmitted. Okay. Thanks to the information that was, that of the money that was transmitted, the transfers of money, they were able to identify a group of people that over the period of time of the migrant caravans had operations that they were carrying out from Chiapas and from Querétaro. There was a lot of unusual activity with other countries. In fact, there was activity from countries that are considered within the jurisdiction of the risk jurisdiction, the risky jurisdiction by this group, El Grupo Acción Financiero Internacional, the international financial action group. So with the route in mind that the caravan followed that came from the southern border of Mexico, they were able to detect a series of operations and financial transfers that came from the state of Querétaro to 6 different cities on the border of the U.S. and Mexico, which were Tijuana, Nogales, Ciudad Juárez, Ciudad Acuña, Piedras Negras, and Reynosa. This is what is detailed in this report about the frozen accounts. And get this, folks, the methodology that this is based on is presumed that illegal payment for the smuggling of these migrants were made. It was also the relationship was also revealed that existed between the migrants and the deposits and the people that were dispersing the money in these different cities that came from countries, the extorted money, the money that they got, the payment money that they got, okay, came from El Salvador, no surprise there, Honduras, Guatemala, Cameroon, the United States, and England. What do you think about that, Duke?
In England.
England.
England. Wow.
England?
Wow.
Yes. Doesn't that make Trump's recent visit to see the Queen all the more interesting?
Definitely.
I hope he's paying attention. Mm-hmm. Somebody's got some splaining to do.
Exactly.
Don't you think?
Mm-hmm.
What do you make of that? I've seen it. Oscar El Blue Ramirez has been telling us there's Africans, there's people here from all over the place. Now we are seeing payments from these countries tied to these frozen accounts for human smuggling involving the migrants and the caravans. Duke, your thoughts?
Oh, my mind is blown. I wondered how the money thing was going to work, how that would surface. And it's like when it surfaced in such a big way from this information. I never imagined it was that sort of widespread corruption, that sort of widespread influence and participation. And also that this stuff has been being investigated. I mean, this just didn't come up today. I mean, this has been being investigated for a long time. And once again, what I said earlier about the press not having anyone who can read Spanish or speak Spanish, not picking up on the biggest news that helps explain the thing that seemed to be very unexplainable for a long time. People saw, this is unusual. How is this happening? This is not organic. And look how they tried to spin that. This is just happening on its own. These people are just migrating because the climate's changing. And it's like, no, people were cashing in, and they were planning and plotting, and they were in on the ground floor a long time ago.
Nobody's making money off of this. We're all volunteers. There are no organizers.
Yeah.
People are walking thousands and thousands and thousands of miles. How many lies did these people tell us, including the fact that there wasn't a massive network of them working together?
Yeah.
But you know what? There's a lot of people out there that are just as intent on making these folks out to be the victims, these folks out to be the martyrs. And let me tell you, one of those places is Amnesty International, and they've been doing it for a while. Here's an article from 2010, Duke. This article from 2010 in Medios Mexico tells you that on July 28th, this article came out calling Irieno Mujica Arzate a journalist of all things. A journalist? What? Yeah. According to this, Amnesty International I'm sure that they made some kind of public statement condemning the police brutality committed against activist and journalist Irieno Mujica Sarte that has been on a hunger strike outside of the INAMI, that's like our equivalent of ICE, in the state of Puebla, demanding that they return his money that they took from him and his filming equipment.
Was he Jorge Ramos?
And here's an image. This is an old image from back in the day when he was doing his these people are actors. This reminds me of Pitaya Queen and her beat up face and in Tijuana trying to collect money and using that as an excuse to get asylum for all of these people. What do you think of that? That Duke?
Hunger strike. And he looks like bruised up.
Yep.
It
says, hunger strike. The INAMI robbed me and beat me.
Oh, okay, yeah. It's trying to shift the blame, trying to shift it off to that's the organization that's bad. It's not us. We're not doing anything bad. We're just trying to pass through in peace here, which is not true. So it's like, yeah, it reminds me of all the other propaganda that's been going out there too. Very much like that.
Yeah. But there is investment news as well about Irieno Mujica. People were weighing in. This investment group called Inversionista Uno posted on Twitter asking some questions, saying, is there enough security measures being taken for the mother of all caravans, the big one that came? Have there been enough security measures taken? Is there corruption in the INAMI? They question. There has been a lot of people fired. There's been a lot of movement. I reported on that as well within the INAMI.
Yep.
And finally it says, the one who makes the money smuggling people, doing human smuggling, they're asserting it. Okay? They're not questioning. They're asserting. Is Irieno Mujica and his group of organized criminals. Okay?
Wow.
That's what it says. And Irieno Mujica is also a known activist. A lot of these folks are. I told you that Pueblos Sin Fronteras has a bunch of people that say that they're just volunteers and that say that they're just escorts, that say they're just human rights watchers and defenders. But what they are is smugglers. They're part of the operation. They're activists. They claim to be journalists. All of these things, just like Al Otro Lado and their lawyer, Nicole Ramos, Erika Piñero, and what's her name? The other one. Just like Alex Mensing, Gina Garibo, all of those other people from Pueblos Sin Fronteras. They're no different than Irieno Mujica. They've crossed the line. They've blurred the line. They have erased the line between activists and smugglers, activists and lawyers, activists and organizers. They have erased the line completely. It is also rumored that besides a mansion in Santa Monica, Mr. Irieno Mujica may also have a comfortable place in the suburbs in Minnesota. Here's a post that accuses him of that and is tweeting at Buck Sexton, the host of a radio show on Hill TV and former CIA analyst and NYPD intelligence division. And this is what this person called No Spin said to Buck Sexton. Follow the money. Irieno Mujica, director of Pueblos Sin Fronteras, is an American citizen, lives comfortably in the suburbs of Minnesota, and is a key figure of annual organized invasions into the U.S., essentially a legalized coyote.
Wow.
Essentially a legalized coyote. And I told you, if we don't punish people, it will make it very clear. We have already sent a message in our judicial system by commuting the sentences of people that were involved in this very same region in dropping water in the deserts, quote unquote. But we're really smuggling and working with people like the cartels, working with the cartels themselves. As we know, these are the most dangerous threat to the United States. You can't be those two things. You can't have it both ways. You can't be a human rights defender and somebody that works with the largest threat to our country. Okay? It just doesn't work that way. So this next article, facing pressure from Trump, that was published in the Los Angeles Times, says that Mexico detained Irieno Mujica and this other guy. And it talks about the fact that military police went to Wednesday, intercepted about 600 Central Americans. I talked about that on Chris's show. They went out there and actually stopped people walking on the highway. And they also arrested these two guys. All of this happened on the same day at our Mexico southern border and in Mexico. And Mexico's finance ministry announced also the blocking of those 26 accounts for the trafficking of migrants and illegal organization of migrant caravans. Okay. This is a crackdown that, with detentions and deportations of Central Americans in recent months up significantly, is part of the Mexicans' efforts to stop the migrant caravans. All of this in the face of an angry President Trump that is about to impose tariffs that will increase steadily to 25% by October if Mexico doesn't do its part. On Thursday, White House Press Secretary Sandra Huckabee Sanders said Trump's position has not changed. The president is standing firm, and he says we are still moving forward with tariffs at this time. All I have to say is, do not bend again. Do not bend your will again. You threatened that you were going to shut down the border if this nonsense didn't stop. And several states worth of people have crossed the border since then because you didn't actually do it, Mr. President. So, moving on. Don't you think, Duke? What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah.
They just.
Well, I remember you talking about that. I mean, you were talking to someone about that, and they said, "What do you think about this thing?" And you're like, "Well, if he's going to make a threat like that, he should do it," and he didn't. And I mean, it's been weeks, and people were like, "Okay, well, he's not really doing that thing he said he's going to do." Then he shifted and he said, "Well, as soon as we see some evidence that there's some improvements, otherwise we're going to do that, and we're not going to do it like tomorrow. It may be a while." And then quit talking about it. So people are kind of like, okay, this guy's idle threats. He's not going to really do these huge things that he says he's going to do. And people keep on doing the stuff they're doing. And they keep on getting away with the things that they're doing because there's no accountability. The threats that there's, even when they came up with this tariff stuff, it's like, it's people are reacting, but it's like you start looking at the come through on it, didn't come through with the first one. Are they going to come through with the second one?
And for folks who didn't get to see my segment on 630 Point of View on Valley News Live yesterday, one of the things that we talked about were the tariffs and the meetings in Washington, D.C. And I said that the main negotiation that is being made, the reason the president is pushing hard on these tariffs is because they want Mexico to sign an agreement to be a safe third country. And although, let's say, Mexican Foreign Secretary Marcelo Ebrard, who was meeting with the U.S. Secretary of State Michael Pompeo, his buddy, he calls him his friend. He said they're good friends. For a second day of talks on Thursday, told reporters during their midday break that they were making progress. I bet you are, with all these arrests and frozen bank accounts. I love it. I bet you're making some progress. But you know what else that should show the president? They could have done this all along.
Yeah.
They could have done it before. They could have done it. Okay. and they didn't. So now, thank you. The pressure is working, but this is the coup de grace. Okay, this is the real reason, and it will have the greatest impact on stopping all of these people from coming here, and that is the Safe Third Country Agreement, which would require Central Americans to apply for asylum in the first country that they enter after fleeing their homes. What that means is that it would allow the United States to immediately deport Guatemalan asylum seekers who arrive in the U.S. to Mexico, right? Because that would be the first country. And to deport Honduran and Salvadorian asylum seekers to Guatemala. To Guatemala. Hondurans, you don't even get into Mexico no more. Salvadorians, you can't even come to Mexico no more. Ebrard has called the proposal a non-starter, but he is believed to be considering it now as a way to head off Trump's tariffs.
I see.
What did I say yesterday on 630 Point of View? Because Chris asked me that question. He said, Cindy, they said it's off the table. They're not doing it. And I said, I don't think so. Yep. I don't think so. Well, we do know that's what Trump says he's good at, making deals. Oh, yeah. Looks like this one may go his way. But by late Thursday, no agreements had been reached. Roberto Velasco Alvarez, a spokesman for the Mexican Secretariat of Foreign Affairs, said this: "We continue to explore options to address the growing number of undocumented migrants that cross Mexico." He tweeted, "The U.S. position is focused on immigration enforcement measures, ours on development. We have not yet reached the agreement, but we continue negotiating." Mexico has sought U.S. support for an economic development plan for Central America to address migration. Migrant advocates on both sides of you know what that means? They want some cheddar. They want some money.
There you go.
Okay, fine, but give us some money, right? Because President Trump was like, well, I'm going to cut off U.S. aid. And look who's quoted down here. It says, along with increased deportations and detentions of migrants, López Obrador accepted the Remain in Mexico policy as unilateral U.S. policy put in place this year that has forced thousands of Central American asylum seekers to wait in Mexico while their cases are being heard in the United States. This is Alex Mensing of Pueblos sin Fronteras. Can we call him a co-conspirator of Irieno Mujica yet? And Cristobal Sanchez? Anyway, this dude from Pueblos sin Fronteras, which we now know to be allegedly part of a international smuggling operation, said this: "We had a lot of hope. It's really disappointing to see this level of criminalization of migrants." No, it's not the migrants. It's you, buddy. It's you. It's not a coincidence, Mensing continued. I think that the tariff threat is being taken seriously by Mexican authorities. You think? And they felt the need to crack down on some of the people who've been speaking up against human rights abuses and standing up for migrants. You spelled smuggling wrong. I'm sorry. Anyway, one of those peoples is you too, Alex, and your buddies at Al Otro Lado. I won't read the rest of that for you. I just wanted to give you kind of like the overview of what's coming and what I think is going to happen. And I want to show you that Al Otro Lado is definitely still practicing law without a license in Mexico. Nicole, I got some advice for you. You might want to leave Mexico. The police, the popo is coming around. You might want to run, girl. Grab your flannel and your busted up shoes and maybe get out of Mexico while you still can, girl. Just saying. You don't have to take my advice, but just saying. Also, I forgot to read you something. I wanted to read something to you guys. One of the other comments before I go to the next graphic showing the contracts here. This is about Irieno Mujica, and it was posted by a person named Chavez Andre, with a little accent on the E. He said about the arrest of Irieno Mujica, great news. They still need to catch. Oh, no, this is about the first guy that got, or the other guy that got arrested. He said, this is great news. They still need to catch the other coyote, and then he puts in parentheses, Irieno, who is only doing this because he sleeps with the migrants. He sleeps with the migrants. Also, the same as the Ramon dude who abused children from the streets.
Wow.
And we're also basically defrauding, stealing money from the Cubans. This is what Oscar El Blue Ramirez reported about. The Cubans that were being not extorted. They were basically having fake travel documents made up by these unscrupulous lawyers that were charging them a bunch of money. And that is exactly what the rest of this says, that we're stealing, just like the guy that was stealing money from the Cubans by giving them fake papers so that they could travel in Mexico. And Irieno is also accused of that. Just wanted to throw that in the mix because we know that Al Otro Lado has no problem working with people that are close to the cartels. We know that Al Otro Lado's and scrupulous lawyers have no problem with working with an organization being investigated on an international criminal level for human trafficking of children included. They have no problem with working with unscrupulous border support network people that gave drugs to the migrants, including an unaccompanied minor, and also helped to kidnap an unaccompanied minor. And they also have no problem with practicing law without a license in Mexico. Here's one of the contracts that they made. I've shown you contracts like this before. You can see there that the person that signs this his name is Frenger of Jesus Perez Sabiria, it looks like his name is. It's hard to read his name because it is in cursive. But as you go down to the very bottom of this contract for legal services, you will see that it is signed by a representative of Al Otro Lado named Sarah Borsotti. What do you think that says, dude?
Sarah Borsotti. This was signed on April 23rd.
Wow. 2019.
Whoa.
Here is another handout that came with the papers. And that is one that coaches the migrants on how to pass their credible fear.
Oh, yeah, I remember this being talked about, yes.
Yes. It says getting asylum is in your hands. And it gives them a simple graphic that they can use that allows them to be able to see very quickly, like a mnemonic device, to be able to remember how to pass their credible fear exam. And where did you see this being discussed before besides Al Otro Lado? I told everybody that the flyers came from Al Otro Lado. Why? Because it was said to me by the Agape Shelter pastor that I interviewed about the kidnapping of those kids that he said were the Border Support Network activists that were involved with Al Otro Lado lawyers, because I have seen other people use them and post about them that are close to the Al Otro Lado lawyers, namely Lali B. You remember that? Lali B posted this on her page, Laura Cristina Livingston Berga.
Oh, yeah.
The wacky wannabe new age con, spiritual
influencer,
healer, fake Indian, whatever the hell she is. Yeah, she posted this up on her Facebook. She was handing this out. She was giving out advice too. A lot of these folks who aren't even lawyers are doing that. And don't forget that those folks are connected to the same people that are involved in the Pueblos Sin Fronteras group. And of course, just 12 hours ago, before I did the show, Lolly B had posted an article about the Scott Warren trial and the Irieno Mujica being part of the trial. As you can see, if you scroll down further on that page till you find Irieno Mujica's name. Just before Warren testified Wednesday afternoon, members of Pueblos Sin Fronteras were sent out an alert that Irieno Mujica, the leader of the migrant aid group, had been arrested by Mexican police in Sonoita, the Mexican border town south of Ajo. And another, I call them smugglers, but they call them leaders.
Yeah.
Cristobal Sanchez, arrested in Xochimilco. So she's posting about that. Isn't it interesting how many of the people that are involved, very closely connected to these cartel connected people like Irieno Mujica and Pueblos Sin Fronteras, are also the very same people posting about this, because maybe they're concerned about how closely they were working with the people that were doing the criming. Here is something else I received, a ticket. This is a ticket. Now, if you look, it says right there, the name of the person is Franger de Jesus Perez Silveria. So a client of Al Otro Lado flew in a plane. He didn't walk in the caravan. He didn't ride in a bus. They're flying in planes, folks. They're flying in planes now. This one takes him from Mexico City to Hermosillo. Okay? It says right there. And let me show you yet another one of these contracts. This next one is Lindsay Shank from Pueblos Sin Fronteras signing off on a contract with a lady named Ariana. As you can see at the bottom of this contract, you can clearly see it's Al Otro Lado, that organization. At the bottom, you can see that Lindsay Shank from Al Otro Lado signed a legal contract, practicing law without a license in Mexico. Once again, flying clients all the way to Tijuana. Here's another ticket that's for the same dude. This one is from the place he got off at in Hermosillo that takes him all the way to the border of Tijuana, folks.
Wow.
This is an airline. It's a pretty nice airline, too, called Volaris. Okay? They're flying now. How do they fly? Aren't these people fleeing poverty and hunger? This is a massive criminal operation, folks. Criminal operation. And they have money. They have money. Look at another contract with Al Otro Lado. This one signed by Jill Stanton. Here we go. Go scroll to the bottom and you will see that Al Otro Lado is still practicing law without a license in Mexico. Mexican authorities, get them while the getting's good, because they might be running.
Yep.
They might be leaving soon. Here's Jill Stanton signing another contract. You know who else was working with these folks that needs to be investigated next? You know who that is? I would say, if I was a betting woman, Minority Humanitarian Foundation. Probably should be looked into. They should look at those folks. You know why? Do you remember that there was video evidence of people handing out money? They were handing out money to the migrants in the caravan. One of those people was Irieno Mujica. He was giving $50 per migrant so that they could have money for food, quote unquote. Okay? There was thousands of people there. If you just start doing the math on the amount of money this man has at his disposal, that these people have at this disposal, the reason that people like Lolly B and Irieno Mujica and Nicole Ramos and Alex Mensling always look like homeless bums is because they can't look the part of the millionaires that they are. They can't show you that they are making money hand over fist as part of this criminal operation.
Yeah.
That's why they look like smelly homeless bums all the time, because they're lying. Okay? And let me just share with you who else. Minority Humanitarian Foundation also needs to have someone look into them quick, because they're part of this criminal enterprise as well. And they're flying people around too. Look at how many people they're flying around and who they're flying around with. Their partners, Miles for Migrants, are flying people from the east, to the East Coast. And you can see that these folks, hell, I'd like to take a plane trip for free.
Yeah.
Do you see how many of these people, seriously, this is what's going on. Here's Lolly B posting about the Caritas shelter run by none other than Mark Lane and Bertie Gutierrez of Bridges of Love Across Borders, which is being promoted by one of their co-conspirators, Lolly B. And who are they telling you to donate to? Al Otro Lado.
Okay.
Whose post is she talking about? The fabulous organization to support asylum seekers with legal services that you need to donate to. Why, it's Nicole Ramos's post. And by the way, Nicole Ramos actually likes the dang thing. They're friends. They hang out. And in this other Lolly B post, you see her talking about El Otro Lado once again. She promoted them shamelessly all the time, gave out legal advice, told people where to donate. Donate, please. Donate to these people doing unscrupulous work, illegal work in Mexico. And also, she raised money for the Al Otro Lado bond scheme. Bond fund. Here she is saying, hey, it's a great day to throw your money down a rat hole.
Yep.
Give it to Al Otro Lado for the bail scam. Fund. Yeah, these people are all involved and should all be looked into. How did she buy her latest vehicle? Who puts money in her account? How does she go to Burning Man every year? How does she go to all these different things? Well, it's money laundering, my guess. Money laundering through these GoFraudMes and all of these things that were raising money, including this one that was shared by none other than the mother of the guy involved in kidnapping the unaccompanied minor from the shelter in Tijuana. Beth Doherty, she's River Doherty's mom, promoting these frauds and their fundraisers. And look whose account is raising the money. It's none other. If you scroll down, it says Jake Lee, Kay Kurimoto, and Lolly B. But the person that originally posted this in this fundraiser and shared it in the Border Support Network is her son. That weird Aries of Arsa, Pars, whatever the hell that is a sock puppet account for a fake name for River Doherty, the kidnapper. Because after I exposed him as a kidnapper and as one of the people that were in the group that provided drugs to the migrants, including children, he kind of went into hiding.
Yeah.
He decided he'd better go hide. But you know what? You can never hide from the truth. And both of these people, all of these clowns, these frauds and these clowns knew exactly what they were doing. And they knew that the majority of these people did not qualify for the asylum. They were bringing them for no reason because they weren't going to qualify. They were going to leave them ending up stranded now, as you know, in Mexico, because that is exactly what's going to happen. And I've been telling you that from the beginning, but the fraudsters knew it too. Here it is from their own lips. Listen for yourself. Lolly B and Jake Lee talking about it.
Can we guess how many would get it?
I feel like I heard 20%, but I don't know if that's...
Yeah, basically it's not...
20 or 30 maybe, but...
it's a low percentage.
I don't feel
of all the people that we've been working with, all the people that are applying, this sad truth is that they will not all get asylum. Most of them won't get asylum. So, it's pretty heavy.
I love how there's a
A creaking door.
It sounded like a deflating balloon. Like,
That's what it sounded like, yeah.
What do you think, dude?
Wah, wah, wah. Yeah, we've been playing that video a lot because that was done a long time ago. And, we talked about how they were taking all these people and giving them false hope that they could get asylum in the United States. And the reality is that majority of them aren't. Here they are asking people for money and promoting all these organizations to do all this work and raising money. And then, they're keeping unaccompanied minors in Tijuana. And the reality is they make a video and they talk about, well, pretty much most of them aren't going to get asylum. So they're publicly saying that on a Facebook Live when they're out there doing all this work, supposedly doing work, raising money for all this work that they say they're going to do. So we play that video at least once a week because it's a little reminder. And this happened months ago.
I am frustrated and angry because from the mouths of these frauds come their own crimes. They tell you themselves, why isn't our government putting them in jail for the love of God? Mr. President, our authorities need to pick these people up and investigate them and charge them and punish them to the fullest extent of the law. They are so brazen. They openly talk about smuggling people into our country and say that they're going to do it again. And we're doing nothing, nothing to stop them. I've shown you that this former felon and professional full-time activist connected to the Hollywood crowd, Luis Monsiváis Gutierrez, talked about in a video how he was scoping out the best places to cross people across the Rio Grande River early on when the caravans first started. And here he is posting about it just in May 31st. Again, I'm showing you their own words, okay? I'm not making any of this up. He is telling people that they have to inconvenience themselves. These people are never inconvenienced. They inconvenience the rest of us. They inconvenience America. We have to clean up their mess. We have to pay for their mistakes. We have to take care of all of the millions of people that they're bringing here and deal with the people that are criminals amongst this criminal enterprise. That's why there's MS-13 all over the place. That's why they have people raping and stealing and holding up streets and highways in Mexico and hijacking cars. I could go on and on and on. Normal migration isn't like that. Most of the migrants that come here to just seek work, they're not like that. These folks are riddled with it because it is a criminal enterprise. Here, Luis Monsiváis admits that, you know what? He's down for that. That's what he do. He says, I have been on the other side of watching and helping our migrant people come into this state, into the United States. I got arrested for it. I put a little bit of time in jail. I paid heavy fines. I lost a vehicle. I lost my freedom because I believed that when they are coming here to this United States of America, they weren't coming here to create chaos. Well, that would be what another criminal, like-minded criminal would think, wouldn't it, Duke? And he says, that's why I helped them. That's why I had that underground railroad.
Wow.
Oh, like Mark Lane's? It's historical that we stand up for what is valued in our families. You value crime? Is that what you value?
Yep.
He says, we have to make those commitments. More than that, we have to make the sacrifice. You are going to have to sacrifice. You're going to have to get yourself out there in the field. Facebook, Twitter, your responses are dumbing you down. They are dumbing us down. Don't let them do that. It's not enough action. You have to take more action. These people are coming because of violence, because of poverty. No, Luis Monsiváis Gutierrez, you criminal. They're coming because of criminals like you, coyotes like you, exploiting people. They're coming, he goes on, just like they did in Ellis Island. Shut up. That is the most ridiculous comparison. The people that came to Ellis Island were not a bunch of criminals. It says they're coming to the U.S. because they're looking for a better... I can't even read the rest of this crap.
Yeah, makes sense.
Claptrap. Estupideces, pendejadas, pendejas, de un pendejo, de un idiota. And here's another guy who was also investigated by Homeland Security. One of the top ringleaders, I think, is going to get his bell rung soon again. Doug McLean. In this post, he is naming the names of everyone that should maybe be on that list.
I guess.
That the authorities should look into. Mr. President, you're welcome.
Yep, there you go.
FBI, you're welcome. Here's the list. Go check out these people because this is one of the lead organizers at the very top, okay? Here you have Susie Desba, a.k.a. Standing Rock Vanessa Dundon, and 88 others. Now, I don't know all of their names, but I can pick out a whole bunch of them that need to have further investigation into their activities, working directly with Pueblos Sin Fronteras, who we now know is being investigated and many of whom are having their accounts frozen for human trafficking. There is Michael Negro. We've got Shanti Hockey, Jim Grey Wolf, Fake Indian Peruzzi. We've got Fiorella Isabella, who's working on the Spanish part of Bernie Sanders' campaign. We got Frances Fisher, ex-baby mama of, what's his name?
Clint Eastwood.
Clint Eastwood. We've got Sherry Foytlin, Holyoke Lafferty, all involved in the Standing Rock debacle. We got unscrupulous water protector, legal collective lawyer Tara Hauska, also working with liaison to Bernie Sanders' campaign and many other things. We've got fake journalist, mostly an excuse for his activism, Rob Wilson of Rob Wilson Photography. We have Tina Pugliese of Women Indigenous Media, which was started by none other than Digital Smoke Signals, Myron Dewey, out at Standing Rock. We've got the Llorona, the crier, and the fraud that raised so much money for Standing Rock, Wania Luck.
Oh, yeah.
We have Kei Kurimoto that also works with the group of people that are around the Bernie Sanders campaign. And of course, we have documentary filmmaker along with Myron Dewey, Deborah Parker's husband, who also is working on the Democratic platform in the Bernie Sanders campaign, none other than Josh Fox.
Oh, yeah.
And by the way, I didn't even look at the entire list, but let me tell you who he personally tagged. Maybe this will narrow it down, okay? So for you folks out there that are investigating this further, for the president and all of his institutions and men, here's some of the people that are key to the investigation. Bridges of Love Across Borders, the Bridge El Puente, the band and the people that are in it, Al Otro Lado, Sanctuary Caravan, the New Sanctuary Coalition, Kei Kurimoto, Adam Elfers, Douglas Oviedo, Shanti Hockey, Rob Wilson, Alex Rolando, Lucas Mullican, Bertie Gutierrez, Lale B, a.k.a. Laura Cristina Livingston Berger, Katrina Caravos, Monica Hunken, Tim Schwartz of the Ban Exit at Standing Rock, Kitra Kahana, one of those journalists from Canada, Sergio Eduardo Gonzalez Cardenas, and Myron Dewey of Digital Smoke Signals. Maybe that's where we can start the next round of investigation, folks. That's all I've got for you. I will be bringing you more updates on what is happening in the negotiations to stop the tariffs on Mexico, because I think there's a lot more arrests coming around the corner.
I think so.
Folks.
Yep.
A lot more exciting things. It's time to pop the champagne. I can't wait to see what our president does next. Thank you for being with us here on A Mexican Crossing Lines to listen to this program called Frozen here on 88.1 FM KPPP-LP, where we are adding local color to your airwaves. Saying goodnight, Cindy Gomez-Schempp.
And Duke Gomez-Schempp.
Buenas noches.